Welcome back to the show. My name is David Scales. This is Surf Splendor, episode number 517. Goes without saying, in the world of surf media, the Surfer's Journal is beyond reproach. Here's the latest issue. You've heard me interview guests for 10 years. I usually ask, what surf media do you follow? And almost to a person, regardless of age, gender, what side of the business they're on, they all say they subscribe to the Surfer's Journal. And in stark contrast to our modern times of self-promotion, the Surfer's Journal has never really attempted to influence surfing. Rather, it has served as a reflection of surfing. It's just telling stories of surfers around the world, really unlikely stories, oftentimes stories I was totally unaware of, people I was totally unaware of, but it's incredibly well curated, beautiful, insightful, and again, a reflection of surfing around the world. So the man who is responsible for this gift to us is Steve Pesman, the founder, but arguably equally as responsible, and certainly for a longer period of time, is today's guest, Scott Hulet. Scott served as the editor of the Surfer's Journal for 20 years, up until 2015, but he's maintained a role there as creative director ever since. He's also just released a new book, Flow Violento, now available on surfersjournal.com. It's an incredible book. It's actually 30 years of surf writing, compiled, a compilation of articles, all in one book. It is fantastic, highly recommended. And so we discuss that in today's show, and we discuss a lot of Scott's background as well. So I hope that you enjoy it. We recorded this conversation at the Surfer's Journal HQ in San Clemente. Of course, you know, this type of day, all of this work is supported by our industry partners, surfrider.org, rourke.com, promo code Splendor15, veyerwatches.com/surfsplendor, and realwatersports.com. Surfrider.org. The ocean needs more friends. For 40 years, the Surfrider Foundation has been dedicated to protecting and restoring the ocean's health. Become a member at surfrider.org. Ocean health is vital for surfers, but it's also vital for human existence. So there is no reason to not become a member and support their work. Surfrider.org. Of course, rourke.com is our clothing sponsor, and we will save you 15% on any purchases anytime on rourke.com with promo code Splendor15. realwatersports.com is our retail partner, so any and all of your water sport needs you can get at realwatersports.com. And then, of course, Veyer Watches. We will save you 15% on an American assembled, ocean ready, waterproof guaranteed timepiece. Veyer is spelled V-A-E-R, veyerwatches.com/surfsplendor. All right. Thank you so much to our partners for allowing me to do this work. Thank you, listeners, for your engagement and support. And I hope that you enjoy my conversation with Scott Hulet.
Surf Splendor.
Do you ever get exhausted talking about, thinking about, writing about surfing?
Right now. Yeah, you can.
That's why I wanted to go spring water with you.
Of course. Yeah, that was a pleasant way to lead into this. Yes, I do. But I have a circle of friends with really broad interest, and they know that this is my gig and has been for 30 years, and they wisely lead me away from this topic. So it's actually refreshing to talk like this about surfing.
I've designed this to not be too much about surfing.
No. Bring it on. Yeah.
Well,
I have very Catholic tastes, you know.
Yeah. What does that mean?
Meaning in the surf topic, I love everything about it, from the travel to the people to the history. So anything you hit me with, I'm prepared and welcoming.
The reason why I ask that, I mean, maybe it's obvious why I ask that. I personally feel exhausted by it.
Yeah.
Like, I not exhausted, but like, I just want to enjoy the act of it.
Yeah, me too.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so then getting out of the water, coming home and like focusing on it and then pulling up a podcast and talking with Chaz about it forever. And then it's almost like, I guess once at the end of the day, my wife and I are never, ever going to talk about, if she asks me about work, it's like, please, let's talk about something else.
Sure.
Shut off surfing entirely. There's no surfing imagery hanging in our home or anything like that.
Right.
And I do almost fantasize about a life having done something else as a profession just so I could enjoy the surfing itself for what it is and not overanalyzing it.
Yeah.
But I've read enough of your work, of course, to where I do recognize what you said is that surfing is kind of the framework, but really the writing is also, it's about the other things that you mentioned.
Yeah. Like travel, I've been quoted or written about, certainly, is a reason. Surfing is a reason to travel.
Right.
So you're not a tourist. You have a focused goal in mind. But once there, you can branch out and pursue and indulge all of your lifelong interests in, be it literature or cuisine or music or degen shit, all that.
Do you ever travel and not surf?
Lately, I sure do. Yeah, after my health crises of a few years back, I'm mostly body surfing and fishing right now. My doctors just waved me in to stand up a surf again, so that's coming this summer with some trepidation, but anticipation for sure.
Good.
Yeah.
Let's go way, way back.
Yeah.
How did you discover surfing?
Ooh.
And where'd you grow up?
San Diego, California, in many boroughs of that hick Navy town. I was born there, 4th generation there. And, the first time I said, my dad taught me to body surf. That's typical story, right? And the first board I ever had was I discovered a knee board in the dumpster behind the old chart house. It was called George's in Cardiff by the Sea. And I rescued that and flopped around in that and go, oh shit, this is fun. And it was on from then on.
Do you remember who shaped the kneeboard?
No, it had no shape. It had an acid splash, poorly rendered, but it had a fin. And that's all I recall.
Interesting. Yeah. How did your family end up in San Diego?
Well, that goes back generations, the war, World War II.
Wow.
Yeah, General Dynamics for my great-grandpa. Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Not a lot of, I don't know of a lot of 4th generation, even Californians. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's a lot of...
It sounds more than it is. They came out in the 40s.
Okay.
But my grandpa was there. He was the first. So it only goes back 80 years.
Yeah, okay. I guess my family's been here that long too.
There you go. Yeah.
But what a great place to grow up. San Diego's ideal. Yeah. Do you remember how early on did you discover kind of an interest or a talent for writing?
Yeah, very, very early. My mom taught me to read at 3, and my dad was a writer, and he taught me what to read, early.
What did he tell you to read?
At that age?
Yeah.
At 5, 6, that would have been 101 Poems, which is a survey book on poetry. He used memorizing poetry to come down from his job. He was a cop. And he would come home and not drink, but memorize poetry. And that calmed him, and he wrote as well.
Fascinating.
Yeah.
I guess I've thought at times about what you would do if I didn't have doom scrolling on my phone.
Right.
I more think of it in terms of like, man, I'd be way more productive if I didn't have this, but I've never thought about what I would actually do.
Right.
The idea of memorizing poetry.
Yeah, oddball, He wanted them with him and in him.
Do you still have a fondness for poetry?
Yeah, I have a fondness for certain poets. Yeah, but not in a regular way.
Yeah.
It's more memory for me.
Yeah. It's it would be a tough. I mean, is there a way to make a living as a poet nowadays? I mean, I wonder where that work even exists.
Yeah,
There's probably journals and stuff.
Yeah. There was never a living really to be made. The poets in modern times, had to branch out into short fiction and stories.
Yeah.
For payment.
Or music.
There you go. Yeah. But in modern times, one of my dear writing not mentors, I did work and assigned pieces to him, was a poet named Jim Harrison.
Okay.
And he's an amazing craftsman and writer and magaziner as well. He died 3 years ago. Talking
about growing up in San Diego, once you kind of got into surfing, who are the guys? Who are the guys at your local beach?
Okay, the local beaches, each little village, each little beach, each little town had a standout. And I didn't know them by name, but it was so obvious, you know? And at that stage, when you're in your kookdom, you recognized beautiful, talented surfing, but not by name, really. It was the magazines who you look at that and go, oh shit, I want to surf like him.
Yeah. Do you remember the names of the guys, or who or maybe even in the magazines?
Yeah. This is so funny, but you'll never relate to them. They never blew up in any real way. There was an early fish writer in the 70s in OB. His name was Rob Bistadu. And he had such a gorgeous, swooping, high-speed trad fish style that it's imprinted on me. And he ended up being a scientist. I think he went to Scripps and a long-distance runner. But, oh, my God, what a beautiful surfer. And there was a guy named, I think, Bruce Felton, who was like the domo of the North Jetty, the right bull wave at OB. Same deal, like world class, and you're in the water, feeling the speed. For me, what blows me out all my life with professional world class surfers is being in the water. And in stills and video, you don't feel the speed, but when they pass you and do a cut back in your face, it's like 2x speed.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy. It really establishes where you are in the hierarchy of talent. Yeah.
Completely. Yeah. I got that humbling experience real quickly. Decided to start podcasting.
There you go. Yeah. Me at the inkwell. Yeah.
I'm like, I'm better than talking than that dude is.
Sure.
Back to writing. Do you remember the first piece of writing that you were paid for?
Yeah. First one with a paycheck was for Arts and Entertainment magazine in San Diego called Revolt in Style, edited and owned by a Brit, D-Gen, great guy, Trevor Watson. And he assigned me a piece to get on the train and go to Del Mar from San Diego and report on the Del Mar Lifeguard Longboard Contest in an Arts and Entertainment magazine. I had met him in a bar, and he goes, "You'll have a voice. I want you to do something, do this." So I went there and wrote a bit, and he gave me $50 at the bar the next week.
How old were you?
19, maybe.
Too young to be in the bar?
No, this is a special bar.
Okay.
Yeah. People from PB would know it.
Sure. Yeah. What did your parents expect of you or want you to do with your life professionally?
I can't recall really. Yeah. Their expectations were, please stay alive. Don't be a total degen. I was a wild man. And that's about it.
Did they approve
Low,
of you?
I guess, is the answer.
Low.
Expectations.
Low.
Yeah.
Okay. Did they approve of the surfing lifestyle?
They were critical. My mom, in general, I recall her telling me, you're on the floor of these magazines 4 hours a day. At some point, you'll have to pursue something that will sustain you in life.
And she didn't recognize that magazines could be that thing?
Yeah, evidently. Yeah, go figure.
Which magazines?
Surfer, 1970s Surfer. Yeah. Foundational. Yeah. Steve Besman, Craig, some leftover Drew Campion. The reporting was so good. Not professional in a journalistic way, but nuanced and informed and deeply knowledgeable with references, those three, that pull in a real reader to surfing. Yeah, it was different then.
How did you connect with those people eventually?
Eventually?
And find your way
through
into
magazines, yeah.
So do you reach out to them? Do you submit pieces?
No, it's funny. It just kind of happened naturally. I worked for some little throwaway titles, and unbeknownst to me, a couple of those figures I mentioned were reading me. I don't know how. And out of the blue, a couple of them asked me to join them in other ventures or write for them. Yeah.
And what they ask you to do?
Do
Do you remember a first piece that you wrote for Surfer Magazine?
Oh, not for Surfer. It was for the Surfer's Journal in 91. 33 years ago.
Yeah.
All right. The first piece for Pesman here at TSJ might have been a study of Rich Pavel and Dick Brewer collaborating on big wave guns for California.
Interesting.
That was it. Yeah.
This was not in my notes, but you're the perfect guy to ask this question.
Yeah.
Rich Pavel.
Yeah.
So I spent an hour with Rich Pavel the other day.
Okay.
Not
far out.
recording.
Yeah.
I intended to spend 5 minutes. I didn't do much talking.
Yeah. Yeah.
As it goes.
Yeah.
I don't know how he became so well respected.
Right.
Like I know the speed dialer. I know that he grew up in San Diego. Go
The
ahead.
speed dialer.
Yeah.
That came from a caption I wrote.
No way.
Yeah.
See, I knew you were the right guy to ask.
No, for a short piece I wrote on Rich in this magazine with Rasta and Rich. And there was a caption, and it blew up into a model name. Kind of funny.
So he embraced it, basically.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Well,
Kind of cute.
so I have these reference points for him, but what's his backstory? Do you know how he became so lauded?
Oh, well, he was deep into the trad fish before anyone else was.
Okay.
Other than the makers originally, Stevie and Skip. But he was a Grimmy in Azure Vista, a.k.a. the Sunset Cliffs. And he was like a surfer, kneeboarder, pilot fish around that scene. And he was very open-eyed, and he was all in, twice a day surfer, and he was a maker of things. And he discovered all the wily little San Diego secrets of the fish, like ripping the blank in half and using construction paper as a stringer just to sight down and measure against, and not having a stringer per se. And obviously Stevie's fin work, he would know chapter and verse and have a library of templates for those. So he was deep into that. And he opened a little shop He was also into longboards, traditional big plan-shaped nose riders, some knee boards and longboards, kind of trippy combo. And he had a following, and his boards were immaculate. The finish work and the fine screening, everything. Any shaper would look and go, "Oh, he's whatever," but his boards are.
Was he doing the finish work himself?
I don't know if he did. I know he worked with Shannon on the hill, but I'm not sure.
Okay.
But he obviously cared enough to get the very best sanders, and sanders being so important to a shaper.
Totally. Yeah, he still does. He's back local making boards, and his boards are finished at, I don't know if you're up to speed with what's going on down there, but Lamination San Diego is Joel Tudor's lamination shop.
Yeah. With Super Bowl from that crew.
Exactly.
Yeah,
and then Alex Banyai is the sander.
Yeah.
So
Makes sense.
they're doing those boards for him now.
Okay.
But
cool.
yeah, the boards sell for a crazy premium, and he's so elusive and doesn't advertise. Here, you want to go Garrel Steiner?
Please. Yeah, go, man. Let's get kraut.
You want me to pour it right on top?
Yeah, do it.
Cool.
Yeah, let freedom ring. Thank you.
He doesn't market, obviously, and or advertise, and he's not even accessible. And I'm pretty dialed in, and I still don't know all the details of the backstory, even the stuff that you just filled in. So I'm like amazed that there still is that demand for the boards to command that price.
Well, here's the deal. He's misto as fuck.
And that's part of the appeal.
Rich. Yeah, he disappeared. He had two names.
Yeah.
Soloway and Pavel, and he disappeared in his teens out of school and moved to Kauai, and I heard worked as a cane cutter while surfing and shaping. And his dad is a legendary, I believe, microsurgeon, and he's just fascinating and a little sideways in a way that really suits people who work with their hands, like his dad. That's Toby to me.
Good. Well, thanks for that.
Yeah.
I'm glad his name came up, or I'm glad that you brought up his name. I guess while we're talking about surf figures, what appealed to you about Miki Dora? And can you also talk us through meeting him and your experiences with him?
Yeah, well, it's like you shouldn't read Fonte or Bukowski past a certain age. Mickey's the same way. When I discovered him, I was 17, 18, through the lens of Craig Stesick. So it's an endlessly attractive proposition to read about his bent travels and his embedded style, learned from Matt Kivlin, California point wave icon, and all that combined into, ooh, shit, this guy is fascinating. So I was 16, 17 and go, oh, in the heart of twin fin era, seeing this guy in print, still traveling the world, still surfing, using obscure literary and geo references, it attracted me.
It makes sense.
Yeah.
And so you eventually meet him.
Yeah.
How did you meet him, and how did that go?
How did that happen? I've told it many times. Okay, Rich Pavel. Go figure. Is this your work?
No. Okay. I wish I could claim it was.
Okay, serendipity. Yeah, so I was running a surf shop. I did that for several years. Mickey was not on the run, but not on the run either. That was his mode. And he was living with a dear friend of mine in Solana Beach. And I got wind of this and went up to see my buddy, and Mickey was there. I go, oh, this is far out, and introed myself. Couldn't be less interested. And come on. And hung out with him until he found out I had a surf shop. And he put the bite on me. Hey, you would understand this, Scott. more than anyone else, maybe. I need the proper board. You get it, right? And I go, yeah, I can help you out, certainly. And I called Rich Pavel and told him. And Rich said, yeah, I'll make Miki board. And I drove Miki down to Rich's little atelier on Catalina in Point Loma. And he built him an Oli Various style board, an Oli. No ears, longboard, like Miki liked for J-Bay. And we gifted that to Miki. No strings, and that was it. That's how I met him. Then I started up a correspondence via fax machines for years with Miki. I have, 50 letters from Miki to me.
Wow.
That are fascinating with drawings and their screeds. So that carried on. Then I surfed with him at Cardiff Reef a couple times on that board we made him, and hung with him and conversed. And it was, wonderful.
Have you ever shared those correspondences that you've had with him publicly?
No. It's private.
Yeah. I know you said you don't really listen to podcasts, but were you aware of the podcast series that came out last year about him? I think it's called The Dark Prince of Malibu or something like that.
Was that with Dana Goodyear?
Yes.
I listened to that. I don't listen to podcasts. That was directed me, and I did listen to it. Yeah.
What did you think of the podcast?
I think it was pretty even-handed and pretty sharp, like everything she does. I had quibbles with a couple of elements just due to my kind of inside knowledge. But yeah, enjoyed it.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Do you remember your first encounter with Joel Tudor?
That little shit. Yeah. Joel, he was probably 13, 14. And I was in the surf shop era. And I would run into Joel at like events. He was, hanging out at like oceanside events, things like that. And I met him there. And he was attracted to me and my buddy, partner, Sam Ryan, because we were kind of wild asses and a part of that scene a little bit. And Joel always was rolling with DT, Donald, who's a friend, and Nat Young, and much older surfers who recognized Joel's ability at 13, 14.
Yeah.
Because it was clear, that he's like a lifetime stylist.
Yeah.
In an era that didn't respect that, kind of. So they were drawn to that.
Yeah. Have you paid attention to his son, Tosh? Are you on the internet enough to watch that?
Yeah. Alarming surfer. Yeah.
I mean, he's no shade on Joel. Tosh has outshined Joel. I mean, Tosh is...
Oh, for straight up tube riding?
It's crazy.
His backhand work is warped.
I know.
His tight stance backhanding is... Yeah.
It's really awesome to see.
Yeah.
I feel like he's obviously... he's already had, he's proven his worth, but I feel like he's going to have a banner next couple of years.
Makes sense.
Yeah, or just like he's also generating content now. Like he seems to have a little media team that's publishing what he's doing.
Yeah,
he's traveling the world.
Yeah,
and I feel like the audience or the just surfing public at large is so ready, primed, I guess, for like a stylist who's riding alternative boards. We've had Torrin Martin, we've had a couple little things, and now he's a young guy who's embraced all of that, riding traditional equipment.
Sounds familiar. Yeah.
In what way?
Like his dad.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, we'll see. He's getting waves at Pipe for 4 years now.
Totally.
Just doing that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm excited to watch it.
Yeah.
Tell me about the origin story of Longboard magazine.
Longboard magazine, how funny. Yeah, there's when the boomers reached team gold card status in the late 80s, had money and time, they wanted to revisit their youth, and longboards popped up because they didn't have the fitness. And I took advantage of that with a surf shop, a series of surf shops. I rode longboards because that's what we did in San Diego. You had one in your quiver for flat days. Go tanking,
Yeah.
Beautiful, clean, calm, glassy reef waves with a chest high on a log. Let's go.
Totally.
But this was more mercantile and like a zeitgeisty thing in 90. So a magazine, of course, developed to service those returning people. And the owner, publisher of that magazine contacted me and asked me to edit it. And I said, yeah, why not? I tried that. And I did that for 5-6 years. And my goal was to de-Barney-fy longboarding and make it appealing and vaguely intelligent. And I failed, but it was fun. But while doing that for a while, I did manage to write a few pieces that impressed in some weird way the right people. And Steve Pesman sounded me out of the blue and asked me to jump ship and come be his first editor here at TSJ. And I did that. And it's been a minute, Yeah. 23 years.
Yeah.
Avowed poverty, but endlessly rich with memories and travel.
Yeah,
and surfing itself.
Right.
It's been good.
Can you say more about how or why you failed at making longboarding less kooky?
Oh, so harsh. It got too big and too mass. And the cool part about longboarding is it was super unhip, but only really hip people did it.
Yeah.
How's that work? But then it blew up and got mass and became the absolute like jazzercise or something, And
Totally.
then it went away. And when things go away is when they get interesting, like skateboarding. When skateboarding fell apart and the industry tanked and the skate parks shuttered, skating got really fucking cool, really interesting, really art driven,
Right.
outsider, dirty, all the things we love.
Mm-hmm.
And that happened again in longboarding, but now with the internet and social media, it's a thing again, big time. So it's just, hemlines doing their thing.
How did you first meet Pesman? Do you remember the first meeting?
Of course, yeah. There's two stories. First meeting was to deliver the piece I'd written to him at his little officina in a town north of here. That was the first time. The second time was in France, in Biarritz, at La Grande Plage. And he was there as a guest of a festival, and I was too, like a junket kind of thing. I took the junket to go to France and surf, not to go to the event, but I had to. So I was on the Malecon in Biarritz, as was Pez, and we were surveying the beauty at our feet in the waves. And we started naturally joking and talking and found out we were in some ways separated at birth despite our age disparity, and had a natural, like a collegial relationship. And we both recognized that, and that's probably the seed that had him calling me later to work together.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
What was the proposition for you editing the magazine? What was it that appealed to you? Were you the founding editor?
No, Steve was.
Steve was, okay.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
the tone was already set for the publication.
Big
You
time.
understood kind of what
It was like, like Campion told me when he heard I'd been hired to be the first editor of TSJ, he sent me a terse fax. It just said, don't fuck it up. Because we all knew this was a unique document, TSJ. Back then, there was nothing like it. That answers your question. Why did I take the job? I knew that magazine from my days at the surf shop with a fucking box opener, opening the cartons, pulling it out, taking out the journal and feeling its heft, its smell, the quality of reproduction, the artful editing. It was like kind of square, but kind of cool at the same time, like Pesman is, And with the box cutter, I actually ripped apart a copy of the magazine and saw it was Smythe sewn with printer's thread. I go, shit, this is going to be here in 100 years. I love this. So, like that.
Did you feel confident that you could execute the job?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah, I did. At that point, I was, 30 or something. Yeah, totally.
All the confidence in the world?
Yeah, totally. Yeah. I had no question. I farmed it often, but that's part of it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
When you're on the cycle of production,
Yeah.
they can't all be home runs.
Yeah, and you're only allowed so much influence because it's like being in a jazz combo, You have to deal with the bass player and the drummer, the timekeepers, and like a guitarist, and you're just a horn player.
I know you always try to play down your role.
Yeah,
Your influence.
it's for good reason. Right?
Yeah, but your influence can't be understated either. I mean, you can understate it all you want. I'm just saying for the general public, it can't be. Or in my introduction to this episode, I will say that your influence can't be extracted or teased apart from the tapestry that is surf media for the last 20 years.
Well, it's time, Even an old whore gets respectable with some time,
Do
the
they?
old saw.
I'm unawares.
Okay. Yeah, I've heard.
Okay, yeah. That'll lead us into the book, but before we do, as a segue, even though that was a perfect segue, it reminds me what you're talking about with the jazz thing. I didn't know that Miki Dora's father worked for Lafitte Rothschild.
Oh, yeah.
And I learned that from you, actually, at some point.
Yeah.
But the analogy to the jazz thing is when California winemakers or when California wineries talk about their wines or you read about them, the winemaker's name is the most prominent. It's always first and foremost, we got the winemaker from wherever to come here and make our wine.
Yeah.
When you think about France, you couldn't name one of the winemakers from Lafitte Rothschild. Because
it's
the
such an edifice.
Yes,
Yeah.
the winery and the vineyard is the most important thing, and we're achieving this house style.
Yeah.
And the winemakers come and go, but
Okay.
we're going to always execute because really the quality is the land itself.
Terroir.
Right, exactly. Whereas California, it's the opposite. It's like, no, we brought in a Michel Roland from France
Rockstar.
to
That's
make
so
this.
American.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So it's totally different mentality. But that brings us to you and your influence. How did Flow Violento come to be?
Oh, yeah. Buy my book. Actually, it's a collection. It's an omnibus of past printed items, but not just from the journal. It has a lot of travel and fishing and kind of coastal culture. So
Longboard magazine. And Longboard magazine as well. There's a piece.
There's a piece from there, and the Bite and other fishing sources and Surfer. So how it came about was time served, as the judge told me, a long time ago. So it kind of evolved with time, and I was floating this with my agent to try to sell it in a lazy way. Oh, this work is done. Let's sell it again. And she couldn't place it because she had big fish she was playing with. And out of the blue, the journal on the success of Steve's recent book, Turn and Go, asked me, hey, do you have anything, And I said, well, yeah, I do. And Debbie, Steve's wife, said, hey, I'd like to push go on this. And I went home and I go, oh, God, a big surfing thing? There's so much surf, really, And I tunneled down, and I'm a big Latin America, Mexico guy. It's been my life since I was born. So I tunneled down and saw a hook there and said, okay, I will just narrow the focus to those topics. And I boiled it down and reread it, and I go, God, it kind of hangs together. And I'm super, super critical. And I wasn't cringing. So I delivered that, and here it is.
Over the course of editing and working, corralling, writers over the years,
Yeah.
Who do you think are some of the most impressive talents that you have, whose works you've either curated or
Edited.
edited and
Yeah. Or assigned ideas to, or fielded ideas from? There's so many. Yeah.
And I kind of want to couch the question with, like, is there a way to make a living as a writer in 2024? Because I would imagine, like, there's been amazing talents. They have a talent for this thing. It's just not lucrative enough to really cultivate the talent.
Yeah.
But what are just some names who you've identified as having kind of a real raw talent for it?
Putting my on the spot is difficult. There's so many.
Okay.
But I like the surprises. And our current editor, Alex Wilson, is really involved in the lit and short story scene, and he's discovering brilliant young writers who are invigorating our title in a way it's never been before. So hats off to Alex for that. And for me, I find them in oddball places. There's endemic journalists and writers in surfing who I deflect to their talent and broadness, and that would be, off the top of my head, Matt Warshaw for his encyclopedic kind of God's head knowledge, and a guy out of Australia called Steve Shearer, who's hyper intelligent and focused and core. I like him. And from the day, as a kind of all around infield, outfield writer, surfer, Barolotti was really, really sharp and vivid and colorful, and he was on the ball. And there's many I'm neglecting, but you could build a magazine with those three easily.
So then that leads me to the next question, which is there a way to make a living as a surf writer in 2024?
No.
Okay. Bummer.
Well, there wasn't then either. If you were single and an artful dodger who knew how to ferret out an oceanfront house at La Jolla Cove for $400 a month, yeah, you can pull it, but those days are gone. Yeah. In California, there's so little value left here, you have to go abroad. And that's the exciting bit of this life. Leave this place. There's amazing places out there right now.
Good.
Yeah.
People dream about moving abroad.
Yeah.
I'm not convinced. I think a very small percentage actually pull the trigger on it.
Yeah.
What led to you making that a reality?
Well, I'm part-time. Yeah, I'm still well established, locked in here due to family and my mom and things like that. Care for same, and there's parts of the California experience I still adore. You know, it's who I am. But for me, Latin America and Mexico hold growth and balance, and it's out of the kind of me versus you cultural landscape that I deplore. I don't have time for. I'm into freedom and beauty and adventure and shit like that. Yeah. And not talking about grievances, you know? So I'm happier in South America and Mexico, but I come here and I endure it. California remains, America, the best place in the world to make money, but there are far better places to spend it.
Earn a California income and then go spend your time elsewhere.
Yeah, geo arbitrage. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Can we talk? I mean, I don't know if you're intentionally being vague with some of the locations.
No, you can ask directly. Okay. Sure.
How did you?
I'm cagey, but not a prick.
Okay, fair enough. We can. How did you discover Cuba? And what was the appeal? When were you first there? Do you want to go Vichy Catalan?
Yeah, go, man.
Okay,
yeah.
I've only had
waiting on you.
Sorry, I was waiting for you to finish the glass. I come from a service industry, and it would be rude for me to pour a Margot on top of a Lafite. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Okay, but I like your lack of pretense.
Yeah,
because
fraudulent.
Because despite my pretense, I try to shake all of that when it comes to wine, and I will let you pour one wine on top of the other just so as not to be pretentious. You know what I mean? Like when you take it too serious, it's just no fun anymore.
All ends up in the same place.
There you go. So Cuba. Rocketmoney.com/surf. Just this week, my wife figured out she was paying a subscription for Showtime, but then also paying for Paramount Plus, which includes Showtime for free. That's precisely what Rocket Money was designed for. A modern tool that meticulously tracks the details that we easily get distracted from. It's a finance app that finds and cancels your unwanted subscriptions, monitors your monthly spending, and helps you lower your bills. It gives you freedom by helping you see your subscriptions in a simple dashboard and alerts you about hidden fees or increases. Rocket Money has over 5 million users and has helped save its members an average of $720 a year with over $500 million in canceled subscriptions. Stop wasting money on things that you don't use. Cancel your unwanted subscriptions by going to rocketmoney.com/surf. Calm the clutter in your head, simplify the tedium of your financial life, and find freedom through rocketmoney.com/surf. So, Cuba.
There's little surf to talk about. Is that okay? It's going to be boring for your surf turkey audience.
That's quite all right.
Like you and me.
That's quite all right. So how did you discover Cuba?
Oh,
what year
I've wanted to go to Cuba forever, my whole life. You know,
because of Hemingway, or
that's a big part of it, and Graham Greene.
Okay.
Yeah, for sure. And I came of age during the missile crisis, and politically, it was fascinating to me. I'd never been to a communist country ever, so how could I applaud or condemn that program until I see it?
Yeah.
So that drew me there, and the fishing, you know, and the people, and I love Cuban music, all that. Not a great place for eating.
Funny you should say that. So what was the first year that you went?
4 years ago.
And that recent?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I had no idea. I thought you'd been going there longer.
Yeah.
How did you get in?
I flew
from
Miami legally.
Do you have a different passport? I mean, are you allowed to do it?
No, it's called the Aid to the Support for the Cuban People.
Oh.
Rider, and you can legally travel still.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. And they, in the day, you'd ask them to not stamp your passport, but I wanted to go.
Yeah.
Stamp it.
Right. Yeah. So
I still do that.
well, who knew? I'd been there before you. I had no idea.
Go figure.
Okay.
Yeah. Second tracks.
Well, when I went, I mentioned it on the podcast that I was planning a trip.
Yeah.
And this is the beauty of the medium, is a bunch of people reached out who had been there previously. Yeah. And one of them had a clothing company who had done like a photo shoot there. And so they gave me all of the outline basically of like which restaurants to go to, which underground jazz clubs to go to, and literally like underground, you know?
Yeah. Cellars.
Yeah. And so we were only there for a week, but we just had the time of our lives in that week.
Who was we?
Me and the girl that I was dating at the time.
Okay.
So it was just two of us. But as you stated with other places, the American dollar went a very long way. So you kind of live like king and queen for that 1 week. The other thing was, because it had not been open to tourism up until that happened, I guess it was Obama presidency made it available for a few years there. Because it had not been open to tourism, the people were just so grateful for the tourism and the dollars and the economic influx that they were just so kind and gracious, you know?
Sure.
It was a unique experience that I don't know that I'll ever have traveling again.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
But the food, to your point, was very mediocre.
Yeah,
it was like
dreadful.
Overcooked meats.
It's like Costa Rica or Central America.
Yeah.
Sorry, my socios in Central, but it's not the Peru.
Which I'm surprised by when you mention how good the fishing is. Wouldn't there be great seafood?
It's so funny. It's not vended. It's too much money for the locals to enjoy. But the lobster is $4 for a beautiful big cray.
Yeah.
Still.
Yeah.
So if you travel like I do with Tabasco, it's all right.
Okay. Is Tabasco your hot sauce of choice, or just
Absolutely.
for lobster?
No, for everything.
Really?
Yeah, I'm not prissy about it. I deflect to Tabasco every day.
Do you like the green?
No.
Green with eggs
Yep.
is so good.
My go-to hot sauce or eggs, however, is Cholula.
Also a great hot sauce. But that's my point, is there's a different hot sauce appropriate for different types of food. You can't just go universal.
Yeah,
Tabasco.
but man, it travels well, it's small, and you can't step to 3 ingredients. Try.
That's a good point.
3.
What are the 3?
Very Lindy. It's chilies, vinegar, salt.
Yeah.
And I'm a salt weirdo. They grow their own salt there.
Do they?
Grow. Yeah.
What's your salt of choice? Do you have a singular like you do with Tabasco or hot sauce?
Maldon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you can buy Maldon here on Amazon, a gallon for $25.
Yeah.
Which is a crazy deal. Because at the store, it's $11 for like a little box.
Right.
But $25 for the gallon, it lasts me a year.
Right.
So that's a hot tip for you in case you didn't know.
Yeah, I'm recoiling a little bit about calling it because of the microplastics in all sea salt.
Oh, really?
Malo.
Really?
Yeah. If that concerns you, Himalaya or Highland salt, ancient sources.
Okay.
But the flakiness, the crunch, the pyramidal texture of Maldon, and helps my cooking move from C- to B+.
That's a big jump for one ingredient.
Yeah, come on.
Imagine if Tabasco used it.
They have their own ponds,
By the way, speaking of salt,
Yeah.
the salinity, saline quality in this is off-putting to me. Of the Vichy Catalan.
I love it.
Do you?
Yeah.
I don't like it. Brackish.
Yeah. I like it.
Okay.
Salt's good.
It's an
Great for you.
acquired taste. I like salt in general. I just don't like it in this water. Where do you still want to travel?
Everywhere. Almost.
What would be at the top of your list?
Sardinia. Yeah.
For fishing or?
Food, fishing, surfing.
I don't think of, I guess now that you say it, I have seen surf there.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Kapu Manu is the right point, the beefy wave, but it's surrounded by the waves I like. Delicate, thin-lipped, hollow, offshore, empty.
Yeah. I was asking if you can make a living as a rider or surf rider nowadays. Even though the answer is no, can you make a lifestyle doing it? Can you still travel the world and surf as a rider of surfing?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you can.
Dude, I didn't know if who even pays. I mean, magazines, I guess, are the only ones who would pay for surf riding at this point. Are they sending you?
And there's a variety of hustles from brands, up and coming brands, to tourism departments, to foreign magazines. There's various hustles.
Yeah. Okay. What surf media do you follow nowadays?
Ooh, gosh. From the perspective of slowing down to look at an accident, I look at Beach Grit. Where else? Surf media. Ooh, social platforms a lot. Yeah, IG a little bit. I ferret through there and look for undersung, understudied people and places to exploit artistically and journalistically. Yeah. Like anything in life, the most interesting accounts have the fewest viewers.
Yeah. Totally. Do you like the medium?
It's efficient.
Yeah.
Yeah. Knowing when to stop.
That's key.
Is the issue.
Yeah, that's having it work for you and not getting kind of sucked in by it and wasting your time is a challenge.
Yeah. Compared to the old way, the loss is palpable.
What was lost?
Oh, nuance, pacing, not being overwhelmed with mediocrity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The other thing that I've noticed is lost, and I noticed this, I think, in the lineup, is it used to be that there was like a
Gatekeeper.
rite of passage gatekeeper portal that everybody kind of had to go through to get into surfing. And it was, 3 or 4 magazines, a couple of brands, and then you had to go to a surf shop to get your stuff. And people talked about whether it's etiquette in the water
or straight to the shaper.
Yeah, exactly. And so there was a etiquette, in the lineup itself, and everybody knew who Phil Edwards was, or Aki, or Tom Curran, or whatever, and had those same reference points. Whereas now, the etiquette in the water is gone, and I've even had conversations with listeners who don't surf, or they don't know who some iconic figure George Greeno is or something like that, because they just came in from a different angle, and it's easier to access, and everybody has their own experience now. And so, I don't know, I'm phrasing that as if it's worse now. Maybe it isn't worse now, but it's certainly, I don't know.
It's so mass. It's just overwhelming from every angle. Surfing is so picked over. And it's comical if you were there before.
Right.
It's like it's not important or to dismiss modernity. It's just a little much, but it's easily erased from your conscience by surfing and going places away from the crush and the noise and the hue and cry, and turning this little brick from China off.
Yeah. I think the key that you mentioned that I hadn't really thought about before is just how much mediocrity is on it, on Instagram, basically. even though I follow mainly surfing, there's so much mediocrity that I feel like it does dumb it all down. Whereas that vetting process of the gatekeepers at least fed me things that were worth consuming.
Right.
So.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. That's replaced by the algo. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. And the algo is designed, not in my best interest.
No.
What's some of the best surfing you've ever seen? I know that's kind of a big question, but can you? Okay.
Fine question. Live?
Yes.
Best surfing I've ever seen. Oh boy. It would have to be in San Diego, probably at the Sunset Cliffs, at a specific reef where surprising and artful and shockingly adept wave riding was going on, away from everything you saw in the magazines. Like Sui Generis, its own deal. And that would be people like Larry Gephardt, surfing behind his fish.
Say more.
I know. Sounds ludicrous. Holding the pintails in his hand, surfing behind his board.
Body surfing behind it, essentially.
Yeah. And then pulling it under him at the precise moment to his knees on the foam ball. And then exiting standing, weird shit like that. That left a mark. And seeing people like, no name, but fantastic surfers in La Jolla, you're out the back and you see a guy riding and you look back towards where he was and he's kicked out. He's in the flats in still water, but carrying so much speed, he turns and goes back over the back of the wave into the face. A moment like that will stick to your ribs big time. It's like, what just happened? What?
Made possible because of the board he was riding?
I didn't know. Skill,
Crazy.
Yeah.
Like an extended floater, yeah.
Taken to some, like a fantasy land kind of thing.
Wow.
I've seen that before. So there's your answer. Those two moments tripped me out.
Very trippy. Yeah. In modern day, whose surfing do you admire?
Oh boy, there's so much. The surfing now is so quantum. I like Mason Ho. I like Torren Martin. There's some Brazilian body surfers you'll see on social that trip me out. There's a few right there.
Yeah. Do you watch WSL events at all?
Rarely. If it's at a wave I'm fond of and it's cracking, it's on, I'll do that. But not to watch who wins or, no.
Did you watch Tahiti last week?
No.
Okay. Yeah. You missed it.
I did.
It was monumental.
Was it?
I mean, I feel the same way you do, where I'm really almost entirely over competitive surfing.
Right.
It was an amazing event.
Yeah. Cool.
Like, historic day for women's surfing. Like,
okay.
The best.
Yeah. I get that.
Well, at a moment where the entire women's tour elevated together. Like, they
this
all
year,
were getting...
This year.
Yeah.
It's like this is a crux year for women. It's like,
yeah, it was like...
It's like Claudia Sheinbaum in Mexico won the presidency yesterday. It's matched. It's matched by the quantum lift of women surfing right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally. And then that was one day, and then the men ran the next day, and similarly, just the best surfing I've ever seen at that wave over and over and over again throughout the course of the day.
Yeah.
So it was pretty spectacular.
They go.
Yeah, totally.
And recently, the most mind-blowing thing I've seen was that young woman from Oceanside in had that right? Shh. Yeah.
Not there. Elsewhere.
Okay.
Somewhere in the world.
Cut that out. Yeah. Her weaving, kind of skittery, almost Michael Peterson, little micro adjustments.
Crazy.
Tripped me out.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was incredible.
Yeah.
I mean, I was saying that was a moment where that is simply the best surfing I've ever seen done by a 16-year-old.
Okay. She's 16. Crikey. Yeah.
So no longer
figure.
qualifying it, though, as best 16-year-old female surfing. Just best surfing
anyone.
by a 16-year-old.
Really?
I can't imagine ever seeing a better...
Wayne Lynch was kind of, in his day, was...
In his day, but was he surfing like that? Obviously, I mean,
No, it was. Yeah.
that's my point. This is the best surfing ever done by a 16-year-old.
Okay.
Regardless of gender,
Right. Yeah.
So, not taking anything away from Wayne Lynch, but
Yeah.
You mentioned health issue a couple years back. 2 questions. What's your current relationship like with surfing?
Yeah.
And then also, what's your diet and exercise regime? to
Oh,
kind of
wow.
help
Trippy.
and facilitate.
Wow.
Hey,
Men's health.
this is a recurring conversation, perhaps best answered by the aforementioned Jeff Hackman,
Sure. Okay.
whose goal it is to surf to 100.
Okay. Nice circle.
Thank you.
Yeah, okay. Relationship with surfing. I don't surf right now. I haven't. My last surf was in October in Central Baja at a right sandbar. I went down to experience after a hurricane because I knew it would flush this valley. And that sandbar was immaculate. And I camped there for the week and enjoyed that. And for my reentry past health crises to surfing. And I got 2 waves that I'm still buzzing on. Nothing exotic. It would be like Queens on the South Shore. Fluffy, warm, shoulder high, 200 yards, nearest person 40 miles away.
Crazy.
That's my jam.
Totally.
Yeah.
It's everyone's jam.
Yeah. So that's my relationship. I've just been cleared to experience surfing again. And I'm looking forward to that.
So what are you doing for diet and exercise at this point to extend your surfing life?
Okay, that's a great question. Exercise-wise, I hike to water tanks in the hills and on the beach 3-4 miles every day. And then I do PT at the halfway point, like in the rocks around Cottons. I have a little gym I go to, and I pick up rocks and do squats, do push-ups, do bird dogs, all that shit every other day. Then those are my lifting days. I have a fair amount of body weight to lift. So I recover the next day with a lot of protein. Yeah. And diet-wise, I'm big on meat, and I love fish, caught, not bought. And so meat and fish and fruit are primary for me. Honey. I like no prepared foods, no process at all. I like things with minimal ingredients, usually cooked by me. That's my go-to.
Is there anything else that you avoid? Sugar?
I do not like oils other than olive oil.
Okay.
Yeah, no canoil, no sunflower oil, no seed oils per se. I don't do that. I make my own mayonnaise. I love mayonnaise. So light, not EVOO, light olive oil, 1 passer egg, and lemon juice. and a dab on the end of a knife of Dijon, and immersion blender, and that on smoked fish is like amazing. On tinned fish also.
Okay.
I eat sardines and chovies and calamar and snails in tins. I like that.
You just gave the recipe for the mayo, but what's the volume of olive oil?
Yeah, about 3 to 1.
3 olive oil to 1 egg.
Yeah.
3.
You crack in a narrow vessel the egg into the bottom.
Okay.
Goes up about a
Gotcha.
centimeter.
Okay.
And triple that with olive oil. Then a liberal squeeze of like a Meyer lemon.
Gotcha.
And a little Dijon.
Okay, good. Because I like mayo as well, but it is calorie dense.
Yeah, this is
It's not good for you.
every one of these elements is good for you.
Yeah. Okay, good advice. If you can get any board from anybody on the planet, what would you get?
Oh, that's a great question.
Thank you.
And I think about that often. Dennis Choate.
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 Yes, I know the
Precisely.
name. I know the name, but why do I know him? Who is he?
He's a boat builder, primarily.
Okay.
From Long Beach. And he's built downwind sleds, and he's won the Transbac. And he lives in Scorpion Bay.
Okay.
And he's been a shaper for 70 years. And he only shapes for buddies. And he keeps a shaping room in Scorpion Bay, along with maybe 2,000 abalone in his freezer. Dennis Choate would be prime for me. Yeah.
That's how I know his name.
Yeah.
I have a buddy who went down there and stayed with him and shaped a couple boards with him and stuff.
Okay.
And so, yeah, that's...
Other than that, right now, Bob Mitzvin is my, he and or Larry Mobile. But Bob just intuits not only what you want, but what you need. He's really good with foil. He can size you up. He knows where you surf. He knows how you want to surf, and he can matrix all that into a really agreeable sled for you.
Is he still surfing?
Yeah.
Yeah. What would you order from Dennis?
Ooh, that would be I wouldn't shop for my closet with him. I would have him make me a board. Dennis, make me a surfboard.
Yeah.
I would be that open.
Yeah.
And he would know where I surf and what I like, and he'd probably build me a 10-6 pulled single fin, glass in, single fin, and I'd be really happy.
Yeah.
No ears, not a gun, but not a nose rider. I didn't do that.
Yeah. Final question is, what was the last surfboard that you rode?
My 9.8 Larry Mobile, probably the 14th iteration, 15th of that board from Larry for me. Yeah. Single fin.
Do you ever get boards from anybody outside San Diego?
I eat and shop local. Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Final question is, we were talking about Rich Pavel earlier.
Yeah.
How have you? I presume you've gotten boards from him.
Yeah, I've had 2 of both fish.
Okay. And were they notably different than other boards that you've ridden?
They were space age in construction, not the materials, the concepts. It would look like a trad fish until you held it, and there's some shit going on the bottom that's different. And the stringer configuration, a wedge stringer with reasoning behind why.
Mm-hmm.
And his glassing schedules are unique, and you just go along for the program. And the decor is at his whim.
Yeah, which I love.
Yeah,
It makes
it's
it better.
cool. Yeah.
He's still doing that wedge stringer.
Okay, makes sense.
Do you remember how you landed on the speed dialer term?
Oh, it's just coffee,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It was inspired by caffeine.
Just
is what you're
writing
saying.
captions.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Oh, copy or coffee?
Coffee bean.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. The alkaloid.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, Scott, thank you very much for doing
you
this.
too. What a pleasure.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Good rapping is always a joy.
Thank you.
Surf Splendor.